You and after.
Yeah.
It's already recording. Cool.
All right.
How are you doing this week?
Okay.
How'd it go?
He's terrified.
Okay.
And I don't know what to do about it. So
Sure.
every time I put the collar on or even get near it, he runs away.
Sure.
I have to drag him out the door.
Okay. So
that's been a challenge.
yes. So that's normal.
Okay.
Not normal for your normal dog, but
Yeah.
normal for the dog you have. Like I can see all the shaking and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So one would be when you present it to him, always be indifferent or upbeat. Okay.
Yeah.
I doubt that you're like, oh come on, buddy, like that. But
Yeah.
when people bring in that softer energy, or they're like, oh yes, it's it's that time again, and I don't like it, but it's
Yeah.
good for you. The dog's like, well, if you don't like it, then I don't like it.
Okay.
Right. So that's one part of it. So always neutral or upbeat. Second thing that you can do is if there's something like super high value cheese sticks, pepperoni, sausage, whatever meat you have, when you bring the collar out,
Yeah.
don't worry about calling him. Right? If he runs off, you just go, follow him, don't say anything, don't say come. He's in flight mode, okay? So you're in behavior mode at that moment.
Okay.
I go, maybe he sits in the corner, he ducks his head, I present it, I don't say anything, offer him the food. If he doesn't take it, no big
Yeah.
deal. Put it on, try again,
Okay.
and you keep doing that, okay? Even if he doesn't take it. At the end of a session, grab the box, offer the food, nothing, remove it, offer it again, okay?
Okay.
Don't try to coax it.
Okay.
If he doesn't take it, just put it away and keep trying. Because the day you see him take it is the day that he's starting to get comfortable with the collar. Okay, so that'll help you kind of see how he perceives it.
Relax.
When it comes to the not wanting to like come out the front door and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So the reason for this is that the e-collar can match him. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because prong collar, you can crank him and all that stuff, and it's like no big deal, right? But now that you have something that can actively match him,
Yeah.
that's where the stress comes from. Because he's like, holy crap, like this is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. When he locks up to come out the front door, you would actually use the collar to get him to pop out. Okay. So he puts the brakes on. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm not moving. You don't want to drag him. You just start moving until you feel some tension, and then you start remoting and you're just gradually bumping it until he pops forward, and then you dip it back down, and then you start your walk. Okay. So that's shutdown or resistance, as we call it.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
What we want Ollie to learn is that the only option is compliance. Okay, as long as he's compliant, that actually doesn't happen. Everything's good, everything's smooth,
Yeah.
and that's where a lot of the comfort comes from. It's just understanding like how does this work. Okay, the more you use it, the faster he gets over it.
Yeah, I've been using it ever since.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Every dog, their turnaround time is different.
Yeah.
Some dogs are completely unfazed by it, and it's no problem. Other dogs can take a few months. Other dogs can take a couple of weeks. But definitely, the more you use it, the faster he gets over it.
Okay.
Don't wait for him to be a complete jerk before you try to use it. Like, you want to be proactive. And then we'll just see how he progresses. Okay? And you can also like pop it on him during the day and not doing anything with it. Right? So it's just kind of getting used to wearing it. Now, most likely, if you put it on him within the home, you might see him go off and lay down and shut down for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay? Just leave him alone. Don't say anything. And then you remove it like nothing happened. And what you're doing is more exposure. So it's like, oh, okay, it's not always this device goes on, then it's discipline. Sometimes I wear it, nothing happens. Okay. If there's anything that he likes to do that's like a positive, so like let's say he likes to like run around in the backyard or something,
Yeah.
I might pop the collar on him and put him in the backyard and just be with him for a bit.
Yeah.
You probably see some mopiness.
So that's like what happened one time. I let him go out in the backyard and I took his leash off and like had the collar on and he didn't move.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I even threw a tennis ball, he chased it for a second and then just like went right back and like stood
Yeah. You
there.
keep repeating it.
Okay.
Whatever you do not try to force it to happen.
Okay.
Okay. So the fact that he chased it and then was hesitant is
Yeah.
normal. And then I go, okay, we go back inside, right? And I keep trying that. Eventually, you're going to throw it, and he's going to test the boundary. He's going to go, can I actually play?
Yeah.
And it's yes.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, okay, like this isn't such a big deal.
Yeah.
But people tend to like, come on, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And that actually creates more
Okay.
caution.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's you try it once, it doesn't happen, you just move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
No, not with that.
What other questions? do you have?
Well, no, I was just gonna say like so, like people, he's been really good about walks. Like I barely have to give him. It's more like me, so just being a little bit cautious. But I've been like closing the gap between when I'm
Sure.
walking.
Yep.
Dogs are still a challenge. He's really good. Like there's probably like we were walking here and then there was like another dog like right there. And I just kept going. Like typically I'd run across the street and I just like kept going.
Okay.
I like nicked him a few times, but
Okay.
like overall just trying to like keep his attention. But then like later on that walk, we walked past a house with like a dog was in the front yard, like it was like, gated, but so then he went like this.
That's normal at this stage.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in passing of dogs, percentage-wise, how much better?
15% better.
15% better. Okay. Are you moving each time you see a dog?
Yeah.
You want to not move.
Okay.
We're going to cover that today.
Okay.
So when we have dog reactivity, it's easiest for the owner to control or stop it when they're stationary than when they're moving. Okay. My theory is reactivity is a moving behavior. The dog is lunging and barking. So when you're walking, you're already moving, so you're already like at a 2 to 3, and it's very easy to just escalate to the next degree. Okay. When you're stationary, the dog has to build up from 0. Does that make sense? And then also our numbers. Do you know what's the highest you went to address reactivity?
At home, probably 60.
60?
60,
okay.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I make note of that.
Yeah.
I see a dog coming, and I'll give you more instruction today.
Okay.
I'm already starting at 60.
Okay.
So I'm not going to waste time because I already know 60 didn't work the last 20 times. So I'm going to start right at 60, 65, so I can get to 80, 90 if I need to much quicker.
Yeah.
Because if you're always from 30 to up, it's going to be forever before you find that number. The dogs behind fences. So in the scope of reactivity, human reactivity almost always goes away first.
Yeah.
Then calm dogs, excited puppy type energies right in the middle. Other reactive dogs or dogs behind fences, reactive dogs, dogs behind fences, and then run-ins with dogs, like turn the corner dog, is end of spectrum. Okay. Now you can use the dogs behind fences to your advantage because you have a controlled contact.
Yeah, I know. I went back and did it again.
Yes. Now, did you get him to stop?
Him. I wouldn't say stop, but he wasn't lunging. He was still very hyped up. But,
sure. Okay. So we'll talk about that later. Okay. But that was correct. You want to repeat that. So most people will walk and correct the dog, but just keep it going.
Yeah.
And what happens is the dog doesn't completely settle.
Yeah.
The other thing is the next time you walk by the house, he's gonna know there's a dog behind there, and he's already gonna be preemptively amped up, right? Is you want his last thought to be, I walked past this reactive dog with this house with the dog, and I was calm. Right? So that's the last thing he remembers. Now, it's not to say the next time he's not going to escalate, but you'll get him to settle much faster. Okay? Just be mindful of the owners, because I've done it myself. And they come out, they're like, what are you doing?
Well, I don't know about the owner, but someone. It was like a building, and someone was outside.
Sure. So yeah, I've been in that scenario. Okay, but definitely can use it to your advantage. That gives you foundation for when you come across actual reactive dogs on a leash. It's the same shit, except one's behind the fence and one's on a leash. Okay. Other questions? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have you show me what you've been practicing. We're going to add the second half of heel, and then we're going to add what we're going to do when we see dogs and addressing reactivity and stuff. Okay? Go ahead. Good turn. Go to slow to a stop. Come to a stop. Good. Forward again. Pick up your pace a little. Good. Slow down. Good. Turn when you're ready. Excellent. And you can come to a stop right there. Very good. So very tight on the heel. Excellent. So what we're going to cover today is the second half, which is your half of the heel.
Okay.
So last week was getting Ollie to be mindful of you and follow your lead. Okay. But now the turns are kind of awkward, right? Because it's like, well, how do I tell them what we're doing? And that's what we're going to work on today.
Okay.
We're also going to title this. We're going to put the word heel to this. Okay. So heel, or actually in your previous training, did your trainer talk to you about turns or anything like that?
I mean, a little bit.
Okay, about leg movements and stuff? No? Okay, so we'll cover that.
Okay.
So heel is the on switch for what we covered last week and what we're going to cover today. Okay. So technically, if you walk outside, you don't say anything. Ollie can be all over the place, right? So when you say the word heel, that's you essentially clocking him in and telling him, okay, now you have to be on the hip, okay? And then we talked about the release command break. Yeah, and
free.
Use free. So, you know, free would be locking them out, okay? So what we're gonna start off with first is just getting used to that muscle memory. I'm gonna have you now, you're gonna say the word heel first, and then you're gonna start moving with your left leg.
Okay, so like forward, left.
Correct.
First. Okay.
So heel and then the left leg and then you're walking.
Okay.
The reason is dogs have a wider peripheral range, so they see the leg movement and it cues them into we're moving now. In more advanced training, right leg means you don't move. Okay? So from this point going forward, when you say heel, you almost always have to move forward with your left leg.
Okay.
The exception being if Ollie were to cross over you and the head would be here, if you move forward with your left leg, you would push him out to your right, okay? So what we would do there is you'd say heel and you'd actually move forward with your right leg to bump him out to your left side, okay? But you're only doing that when he's here, when he's directly across from you, okay? Questions? So I'm gonna have you do that 5 times. You're gonna cue the word heel, forward with that left leg, start walking, come to a stop. He sits, wait a moment, heel, forward, left leg, and repeat, okay?
Heel.
Good. 2 more. Good. So this is the one. Heel, right leg once his head's crossed over, and you got a dog coming. You're good. They cross. Tap, tap, tap. Good.
Okay, so
now heel left leg, because he's corrected now.
Oh.
Earlier he was like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Heel.
Good, and you can come to a stop spot right here. Excellent. Okay. So that's just the beginning aspect of it. Heel, left leg.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go over the turns. Okay. So when we're doing left turns, or as I call them crossover, because you're crossing over the dog, you're going to lead it with your right leg. Okay. And when you do this, you're cutting at a 90-degree angle, so it's a really sharp right turn and a really pronounced right leg. Okay. If you do a soft right like this, which a lot of people do, by the time your leg comes out here, you're punting your dog over there.
Wait, so you're going right with the left leg?
You're going left with the right leg.
Thank you.
Left with the right.
Right. So if you do a soft right, when you come in with the left leg, since it wasn't enough, the dog will keep going and then you're walking through Ollie. Okay? So it's a really sharp 90-degree cut, okay, when you're getting in front of them. And, shut up, Bill.
No.
Into the right leg, left leg, and then you're going to cut in again with the right leg. Okay, so you should be going the opposite way by the 3rd step. Okay, so you're walking, it's right, left, right. Right, left, right. Okay, so, and I'm making it very robotic just to get the point across. Once you get used to it, you don't have to do that, right? Before you turn, do make sure that you slow down. Okay, to communicate something's changing, to give Ollie time to see what's going on. If you do it abruptly, right now it'll probably work because we're training, so he's more in tune, but when you're on a regular walk, if you do not slow down, you're gonna be stumbling all over him, okay? When we do our right turns, when we do a pivot, which is the correctional turn technically, but when we're doing it when he's paying attention, we have to cue it, and we're leading it with the left leg. Okay, good. So you extend the left leg, you you go back on your right leg, and then you go forward to the left leg, and now you're going the opposite way.
Okay.
Okay, so then it's left, right, left. Slow down, left, right, left. Okay? So you only worry about these specific movements if he's paying attention.
Okay.
If Ollie is passing you, you don't worry about the movements because he's already not paying attention. You just turn, tap, 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 bring him back to the left side. Okay? If you're making a soft right, you would just lead it with your left leg like this, and then just keep going in that direction. That's it. That's the easiest turn. Okay. The hardest one for most people is the crossover. So again, so we're gonna do a batch of each turn. You're walking. You would slow down at least 2 to 3 steps.
Okay.
Cross with the right, left, and cross again with the right.
Okay.
You're going the opposite way. Okay. Questions. So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna cue the word heel. You're gonna cue the word heel, left leg, walk a bit, and give yourself a good speed so that when you slow down, it's pretty drastic for Ollie to pick up on.
Yeah.
Now, because a lot of my clients do this, if your intention is to left turn, they'll slow down and the dog will keep going.
Yeah.
And they try to rush around the dog, and I'll go, no, because the dog wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
You would correct first, and then you would go into that left turn. Okay? Yep. Yep. Okay, go ahead. Don't forget your heel.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Right,
Oh, shit, I ended with
left,
my foot.
right. You got it.
Right, left, right.
Right, left, right, and slow to a stop. Tap, tap, tap. So those two, you went straight into those left turns. What do you want to do for prior?
Slow down?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I felt like I did, but maybe I didn't.
No, you on that second one, you actually sped up
Oh, really?
to complete the turn, right? So when I see that speed up, that tells me that the dog isn't tap, tap, tap. Use your remote. Don't worry about your leash. Use your remote. Tap. Use your remote. Tap. Tap, tap, tap. Bump it.
I'm
Tap.
100 right now.
Is it on? Always test. P1? Yeah, it's dog 1. Because you're, yeah.
It was working this evening.
And of course, we'll want to dip that down.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and go down to your typical number. And take a small step forward and relax your leash. Take a small step forward. Right? Tap, tap. Hold right there. We'll stop. Tap, tap. There we go. So I want you to start unlearning that leash stuff
Yeah.
and really become reliant on that remote.
Okay.
Because if he gets off leash, if you use leash too much, your instinct is go for leash when it should be go for remote. Okay? All right, so the left turns, try them again. Remember to slow down prior, at least 2 to 3 steps. and then turning in with your right leg, okay? You can start right here too on the side if you want.
What do you want to do?
Good. Oh. I think that's blinking red.
What does that mean?
It's dying.
It's still on.
Yeah. But I think what happened was it was on earlier and then it died. It's alright. So what we're going to cover today, it's information.
So is this battery not the same as that?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it's two separate batteries. So, it's okay. You're doing good. Just keep going.
Okay.
So we're going to have to go to the prong. We'll use the remote as best we can.
Okay.
Okay, but otherwise it's the same stuff. Okay, so you're fine. Okay. All right, good. I'm gonna have you stay more this way. I think that's all go. Good. Let's try making that first right leg very pronounced.
Okay.
I think you're doing soft legs. There you go. Much better. Go ahead and slowly stop. Good. And then feel. And I'll have you do 3 more.
Yep.
Right, left, right. Good. 2 more. Good. Last one. Almost. Okay, so let me stop there.
I like fell over myself.
Yeah, so you see how it felt kind of awkward there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're slowing down to that turn, feel free to continue to take steps until you're set to make it, okay? Because then you end up like that. Whenever it feels awkward, it means we did something incorrect. So now we're going to switch to the pivots. So that's going to be to the right, and you're leading that with the left, okay? So again, slowing down, extending that left leg, rocking back to your right leg, and then forward with your left.
Okay.
Left,
Like
right,
that.
left. Just like that, okay?
Sorry.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Deal. Do I slow down?
Yes, always slow down before a turn. There you go. Good. A couple more. A little shuffle there.
He's getting nervous.
slow to stop when you're ready. There you go. That's fine. Good. All right. So easier than the other turn. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna have you kind of freestyle all that stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So switching between the left turns or crossovers to the pivots.
Okay.
Starting and stopping, heel and coming to stop, speeding up, slowing down. So just changing it up a bit.
Okay.
As long as your movements are correct, there really shouldn't be any need for remote.
Okay.
Now, if Ollie is not being mindful and starts to get distracted or whatever, you would just correct like you normally would, and then continue with whatever it is you're gonna do. Okay. So no matter what your intention is, so like when people are coming to a stop and their dog will forge a bit and they'll just yank the dog back because they're coming to a stop. So who cares, right? But for your obedience, it does matter. Like Ollie should be stopping with you. So if I'm coming to a stop and I'm at a red light and it keeps going, I turn it correct just as if I were to keep walking. Okay? Whenever you're ready.
Heel.
Left leg. All right. Good. Good turn. That's your turn. You got it. Yep. You got it. There you go. Yep, that's fine. Good. Okay, slow. Good, just a few more. Good. Good. Excellent. Go ahead and come forward a little bit. Bring Ollie about right here. Excellent. So all those movements were correct. Okay. So what I suggest in the beginning while you're getting this all down is prior to your walk, let Ollie have his business, do his bathroom stuff. Before you start your actual walk, I would do 5 heel to stops, 5 left turns, 5 right turns or pivots, right? Just to warm yourself up, and then you go on your walk. Once you get it in your muscle memory, you don't have to do that anymore. Because during an actual walk, if you just go straight up and down, like you're not going to get a chance to practice those turns, you're going to forget them. Okay. Now, all the stuff here is the package of heel. If you're ever walking with Ollie and you're like, oh, he didn't turn with me or whatever, it's most likely because you didn't slow down. It's almost always the reason whenever any of my clients have that problem. Then I come back and watch, and it's because they're just rushing into things. Okay, so always slow down before a stop. Always slow down in the turn. Okay, at least 2 to 3 steps. You can always take more. If you need to set up, that's fine. I noticed you're walking really quick, and then when you slow down, you stutter step. Okay, so you want to get used to slowing down but keeping your regular strides, and it'll help you not fumble on those turns. Okay. Questions about any of that stuff? Okay. So now let's talk about how we handle the reactivity stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, the easiest way is to step aside and be stationary. Okay. Now you'll hear trainers say, don't step aside and make your dog sit, because your dog's gonna get stressed out because now they don't have an option to leave the situation. Okay. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, the dog's already stressed out as it is, right? In order to teach them to get used to real life, you have to, right? Because one day you're gonna turn the corner and there's gonna be a dog right there. There's gonna be something there, right? So at least if I step aside, or if you step aside, since you're already putting yourself in a situation, you're ready for it. Like, you're like, all right, here we go, boom, right? The other thing is, you're most likely gonna get more explosions, okay? Because you're forcing yourself into a situation. Yeah. And then those more explosions become less explosions to hopefully no explosions. And then the other thing is, you're developing your handling skills. So it's all about practice habit, which is why I pick on things whenever I see anybody doing anything incorrectly, because I know if they're just going to practice that and it's going to be bad habit, right? So if you're forcing yourself into a situation and you're, like we shorten the leash and we do all this stuff every time we do that, right? Yeah. In me, it's an instinct. If I have a dog that just blows up into reactivity, my first thing is always grab as high up as possible, keeping my hand a safe distance from the mouth in case the dog wants to go up. So I have immediate control, okay? Whereas most people tend to hold on to the end of the leash and be like this, and the dog's going crazy, right? So if you're stepping aside and you're shortening your leash, you're building that habit of always doing that when you come across that situation, that when you come across it unexpectedly, that's what you're gonna do, okay? In the beginning, if we pretend, like this is the sidewalk, and let's say where the street is gonna be the street, the more space you give, the easier you make it for Ollie, okay? So in the beginning, I'm not opposed to my clients taking up all the space, okay? Because you have to develop your skill set, you have to develop your confidence, your comfort with all this. And also, it makes it easier for him, because the closer he is to the stimulus, the more likely he's gonna explode, because more stress, right? So I step aside, always facing the stimulus, okay? Okay. I don't do any.
So you're saying like this is like if another dog was walking this way,
correct?
And I was walking this way or something, walk inside.
Correct.
Face it.
Yes. And I'm gonna go over each context that you're gonna, because there's gonna be times where you can't do that. Yeah. Right. When you can, take advantage of this. Okay. You step aside. So the moment you see the dog coming, set yourself up. Okay. I shorten my leash and I shorten it to where it's like here, but it's not tight. So in case Ollie lunges, he's not going to get anywhere, and I have more physical leverage. Okay. The more slack there is, the more physical leverage he has over you. Okay. So I shorten it. If I know up to 60 hasn't worked, then I'm starting at 65. Okay. I'm already there, right? The other thing I suggest is to be prepared for what I call the up and away. It's up and away. Okay. The reason is, if you're shutting down reactivity and you have to override with power, we get what's called redirected aggression. Okay, and the dog's going to target the closest thing, which is going to be you.
Yeah, I mean he's never, but
right. But that's because we didn't have, I would say, a device that could cut through all that stuff. Okay, so it's not making him actively aggressive to you. He's not going to turn on you one day. It's all within the context. Okay. So I explain it as like in the movies and stuff. Have you ever seen him like suture somebody? Or if they have to like chop someone's arm off or whatever, they give them something to bite on, because all that discomfort has to go somewhere. Yeah. So if you're like this and you're at 100 or something and you're remoting, that discomfort has to go somewhere. Right. You're the closest thing. Okay. So if I have it short enough, I want to be out of mouth range, because sometimes the dogs will go up. But if he decides to jump up, since I'm already pulling up, my hand's going to move with them, and then I move down with him when he goes down. Okay. If he tries to move sideways, because again, you only have a foot of slack, he's not going to be able to reach you this way, okay? So that's called the up and the way. Okay. And you're ready for it. Because most people get too complacent. They're like, oh, I've never seen it before. I'm like, not yet. Yeah. That's my whole thing. Is always like, not yet, right? So I always want to be prepared for it just in case. Okay. You start off at 65. The moment you see any tension, you would remote. Okay. So if you see the ears go forward and you know it's coming right there. Yeah. If he blows up, okay? Because then the owner goes, crap, I made it worse,
Yeah.
right? And I go, yes and no. The dog was already thinking about it.
Yeah.
You just unlocked the brain, right? You keep the pressure on
Okay.
until he goes, crap, remote doesn't mean go, remote means no,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, boop, and shuts down himself. And then you might see him turn around like this and the dog go by, we don't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care what he does after the fact. What I don't want is reactivity.
Okay.
Okay? If you're at 65 and you're tapping and you see no response and you know he feels it and he might even be yelping, 70, 75, 80, keep going up, okay? Maybe you land on 80, he's still yelping, but he's still barking, right? And then it passes, we're done, we don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
I go, okay, up to 80 didn't work. Then I try again the next time. The yelping doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
Okay, because people tend to go by that. They're like, well, just the dog's yelping. I'm like, yeah, but they're still lunging and barking.
Yeah.
Right?
He hasn't yelled yet. So.
You're trying to shut that down.
Okay.
And then what you might see is a really big, like maybe you end up on 127 and you get a, right? And the dog jumps, it's literally like that. The dog jumps back.
I'm sure.
And they're like, right?
Yeah.
I relax.
Okay.
Okay? And then I let them have it.
Okay.
Right? And you might see a ton more anxiety because you're forcing them into a stressful situation and you're saying that response is not allowed anymore. So he's gonna go under more stress because he no longer has that outlet. He now has to think of a different way to let it go.
Okay.
The shaking, the panting, the drooling, the whining, all that stuff is outlets for the anxiety,
Yeah.
okay? So I don't correct that stuff because it has to go somewhere. But I want it to go somewhere in a more healthy fashion than an unhealthy fashion, okay? When you're in this context, as shitty as it may be, don't ever feel rushed, okay? Take your time. I have, as a guide, my 3-tap rule. So if I'm at 60 and he blows up and they go tap, 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 no response, I just jack it. Tap, 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 no response, I bump it. And then maybe go tap and you hear, what? And he jumps back and I look, 89.
Yeah.
Right? They got it done on the first tap, okay? So this way you're not sitting there because people a lot of times don't know when to escalate the number.
Yeah.
I go after 3 taps.
Okay.
You will know you've hit the right number because you're going to get an immediate response very easily, okay? And you can typically tell because since he's lunging forward, when you start to get close, the dog tends to retract a bit. So if you see him kind of going back and forth, then you're getting close. You just need to play with that level until you see him backtrack and not want to move forward. Okay, and then we relax. We don't say no. We don't say stop. We don't say quiet. We don't say anything.
So during this whole time, you wouldn't say a single word.
Correct. We're all silent. Okay. The reason is, if he lunges and barks and you go Ollie no, and you remote him, is you've made it a cued behavior. Okay. So the way a dog's brain thinks is if they do something, and you say something prior to the consequence, they think they can do it until they hear that word. Right? So if you say no, technically he can do it until you say no.
Yeah.
Right? So for humans, we just know don't steal stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Someone can explain that to us, and then that's it. Yeah. There we go. And you just do that. Dogs don't. He's just like, unless I hear no, it's all game. Right?
Okay.
So what you're trying to teach him is that if he doesn't want that correction, don't blow up.
Okay.
Simple as that. Okay. This can work a lot of different ways. It's typically, if you can catch it early, you might induce a reaction, but once you shut it down, he learns remote doesn't mean go forward, remote means backtrack, okay? If you end up going up to 127 and he's just blowing up, okay? It can tend to be how the person's doing things. So if he's lunging forward and you're pulling back as you're remoting, the pulling back is actually amplifying. So we always pull up, okay? Always up and away or up. Okay, up settles the brain, back escalates the brain. Okay, so like people will say stuff like that, like Jesse, I was 127, the dog kept going. And I was like, well, where was the dog in conjunction to? You're like, oh, right there. I'm like, and what were you doing? I was doing this. You were feeding into that problem. Okay.
Like, let's say, like, you didn't see like, I give him a little bit of slack when I'm walking, right?
Yep.
So then I didn't see the situation coming, and then it came, so I obviously have to pull back.
Up.
But if he's already ahead of me, you know what I mean? Like if I didn't see the situation coming. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where you're getting used to.
Yeah.
So when you step aside and you do this, you're getting yourself used to that rhythm. You're getting yourself used to that habit.
I just feel like with the remote, it's hard to like. I know you can kind of like still grab, but like.
Sure. So then what I would suggest
I feel like that's chill.
is practice, right? Like there's nothing happening, step aside. You're not under stress, okay? And then like you have your remote, right? So like I tend to do stuff with these fingers, so I can just grab the leash because all you need to do is pass it off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It does need to be perfect. Your first instinct should always be up, grab again, and then now you have them here that you can either pick them up so that the front legs are off the ground. You know, it's just do what you have to do to control the moment. Don't worry about how pretty it looks. Don't worry about whether or not he's yelping. What you're trying to do is prevent contact. Right? That's your main thing. You're not always going to have the means to step aside. Okay? So if you're walking this way, and maybe you have a person walking this way, and it's person, dog, dog, person. That's a really shitty situation.
Yeah.
Okay? So what I would do is you can bring them to your right from behind. Don't do it from in front. In front's awkward.
Yeah.
Okay? So always, and this is where you shorten again, right? You grab very high up. Because the moment you do this, you're going to start pulling them. You grab here, and you have here, okay? Now, if you don't have space to move aside, you can always just pause. As long as something's going on, you just pause, you have them on your right, you're relaxed, okay? But now it's person, dog, so there's a buffer, okay? And then if anything happens, I just pull up remote, do the best you can, okay, if it's tight quarters. You can also say stuff to people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what do you typically say to people? Like, let's say you stop and they think like, oh, it's a good dog.
Right. Right away, the moment. So the other part of stepping aside is your main concern and responsibility is Ollie. You're watching him, right? Having him stationary allows you to see the eyes, the mouth, the ears, the back, the tail, the chest, right? You can see everything. But through your peripherals, like right here, I can see Bill. I can see the sidewalk up to that bench. I can see that trash can. I can see that family walking over there. Through my peripheral, right? So you'll be looking at Ollie minding here, and you might see, oh, you stepped aside from my dog. Right away, you go, oh, no, right? Oh, we're training right now. 99% of the time, people listen to, we're training right now. We can't socialize. And they say, oh, and you can even say, do you mind shortening your leash? It'll help me out, right? That's like the nice approach, right? You might come across the person who goes, oh, but my dog is friendly, right? Yes. So you may have to be a bit more curt, okay? Now, I'm very direct with people. I don't say please. I just tell them, shorten your leash, put your dog on a leash, call your dog. And then I just made a video recently, I don't know if you saw it. I go, how we handle off-leash dogs on the YouTube channel. Yeah. And if you watch the video, I'm very direct, right? Because one, it catches people off guard. Right? Two, when I've done the nice approach, I quit that approach very quickly because I learned very early on, people dismiss it. Okay? I'm very direct, but if you don't want to come across as an asshole, then you can do we're training, right? You really shouldn't need an excuse for someone to respect your boundaries, right? But it helps. Otherwise, do not be afraid to speak up, be a bit more firm, hurt, or rude, because you know what you're dealing with. Okay, they're under a different assumption. And I've even stuck my foot out at dogs because a lot of times when you do this, the dog will go like, "What the hell?" And it'll stop them, and it'll also get the person's attention too because they're like, "What?" I do it to kids when they come running up to my dogs. I'll go like this to them, right? And I'm not trying to kick them, but the kids are like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "No, like don't run towards my dog. Like you're not going to touch them, you know." You have to be proactive. So the way the reactivity stuff works is for Ollie, if a dog's encroaching on your space and he's uncomfortable with it, he's the one that's speaking up, okay? And now you're telling him it's not allowed. But now you have to be the one that speaks up, work with both of you, okay? What he's doing is technically not wrong in his world. He's just protecting you and yourself. Because like we know, we go here, and these are just people from the neighborhood, right? He doesn't. He's just like, who am I and who are these strangers to me? Right? So you're trying to teach them, don't worry about it, they're not threatened. Excuse me. And addressing it so that he does not have to. Yep. There you go. So go a little more forward. Hold it right here. Yep. There you go. Good. Let me think here. So we covered stepping aside. We covered shorten the leash. We've covered if you can't step aside, right? And also we also covered if you turn a corner, your first instinct should always be shorten that leash. That's going to give you the most physical leverage before you jump to anything else. I don't jump straight to remote because I want to know I'm preventing something from happening, and then this is going to shut them down. Okay. If you pass up the opportunity, right, the person just goes and he's still escalated, you have to shut that down. Okay. So even though everything's gone, I might have to jack it up, 95, boom, shut up. Okay, I'm back down to 45, whatever it is, and then let's keep walking. Okay. Never bring negative energy into it. I know it's frustrating to deal with this stuff, but you're feeding into each other. Okay. If you ever see me deal with a really reactive dog, this is it. Okay, I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I'm not panicked, I'm not anything like that. I'm always completely neutral, but always in control. Okay? Questions about any of that stuff. In terms of like how you feel emotionally, stress-wise, how do you feel?
Like, start with him?
Yeah. Same, a little bit better?
Probably like the same. Well, a little bit better, I would say. Yeah. A little bit. I just get nervous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, to make progress, we have to step out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of stuff here where you did not need to move. Okay. Now I'm allowing it right now.
Yeah.
Because I understand you need it, right? But if you're gonna push things and kind of know like where is Ollie, you have to step out that zone. Okay. Most of the stuff that he passed by today, and most of the stuff that did pass by, there was only 2 or 3 times that I was like, yeah, you have to move. Okay. So. He's picking up on your energy as well. If I can see it, he can see it. Dogs are masters of body language, okay? And as best as you may try to hide it, it comes through, okay?
Just don't want anything bad to happen.
I completely
like it has,
understand.
you know, so.
But those times that it happened, one was in the home, correct? And then, what was the other one again?
One was the vet in my house, my grandma's house.
Okay, so the pro is that was all within a confined space.
Yeah.
2 of those spaces were like a territory.
Yeah.
One of them was a completely unknown environment. I do not really take dogs' behavior at vets or groomers to heart because it's such a stressful environment. Okay. Outside, you've not seen anything to that degree yet, right? But I want you.
I mean, it's still reactive, but I just have been able to control it.
Right.
It's still alive.
Right. So, shortening that leash, right? So, like here, you see how you have it slack?
Yeah.
Go ahead and take a step forward till you're right beside him. And I'm gonna have you take up about half a foot there. Right there. Okay? So when you're stationary, there you go. When you're stationary, you take up more. When you're moving, you give slack because you need to give that space. If you see something about to happen, you're like, ooh, this doesn't look too good. You shorten that leash. You switch sides. Okay? So you're being proactive. Don't worry so much about preventing the tap. Don't worry about not having explosions. Okay, because that's going to stress you out.
Yeah.
You need to have the explosions in order to teach them they're not allowed. Okay. So I don't look at them as like a lot of people say like Jesse, like I did a poor job. My dog was super reactive this week.
Yeah.
I go, no, it's just more opportunities to tell the dog shut the hell up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's how I look at things.
Yeah.
Some dogs are tougher than others. You know, it's okay. But again, as long as you're spearheading 65, going to 85, like 80, then work to 85, right? You will be there within the second to third reactive moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Most people struggle because they keep resetting all the way down to 25 and escalating from 25. So they never get past 60. Right? But if you're going, nope, it didn't work to 60, I'm starting at 65. Oh, didn't work at 85, I'm starting at 90. You're going to get to that number super quick. Okay, and then that's what's going to give you the means of stopping reactivity immediately. The quicker you can stop the reactivity when you get the explosions, the quicker he learns not to do it. Okay? The longer he's within a reactive moment, the more rewarding it is for him. Okay, so you might think, you know, I'm on 127 and he's, you know, yipping and he stops, but he still keeps doing it. And I'll tell the owner, yeah, because it's worth it. And they're like, why? I'm like, because it's a dog, right? So then I go, if 127 while he's in the reactive moment didn't work, what happens if I try like 90 even for looking? You know, so it's a very high consequence for a very subtle behavior. And I've had dogs where it's had to be 127 just for looking. Okay, it happens. And If the owner does the work, they solve the problem. Okay. Whenever we have issues, it's almost always the owner not jumping to the number they need to. Okay. Other questions? I'm trying to think here, reactivity wise, if there's anything else you should note. Keep tabs on them. Try to be mindful of what it was against. You know, like you said, like human reactivity has been better, but reactivity towards a dog behind a fence and then like whatever, not better, right? And they go, okay, so then we know that. Dogs behind fences, dogs that are pulling towards them, whatever, dogs that are yapping at them on leash. The dogs on leash and the dogs behind fences tend to take longer because one, you need a reactive dog in order to practice that.
Right.
If the owner leaves the situation before you shut him up, then he thinks his barking got the dog to leave. And if you do the dog behind the fence, well, the owner might tell you to leave my house alone. Okay? So that tends to be end of spectrum. What I care about is more so like just here.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a dog yapping over there. It did get his attention. You remoted him a few times. You turned around. You let it go. Okay? So at least in this setting, I see good signs.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to transfer to your setting.
Yeah.
Okay? Anything else? So your homework for this week is practice the turns, the heel stuff, that's your obedience stuff. We have a reference point now. We're going to start at 65 the next time you see it, and just assume. Okay, even if it's something that he hasn't reacted to, assume you're going to see it. Okay, because I've had clients do that. We're like, oh, the dog's been great with like small dogs, and then one day it blew up. I'm like, that's why we always just assume. Okay, if you force him, so like you said, crossing the street and stuff, right? Is I'll tell my clients, if you're crossing the street, now start. If I see an opportunity, hey, we're crossing the street back over, and we're gonna walk past this dog, or whatever, right? Use your best judgment. Do be wise. If it's like a dog on a flexi leash that's got 30 feet of slack, absolutely get away from the situation. Yeah. Anything that does not look like it's gonna benefit you, you can step away from the situation. If a dog charges you on leash, up and away, use your feet. I've kicked dogs away. I have no problem with it because they're not supposed to be off leash. And then those that are off leash trained, you wouldn't even have that problem. Okay, so just things to keep in mind. Okay, anything else? Right. So we'll see you in a week. If any questions pop up, also feel free if you can. If maybe you're in a moment where you're like, this sucks, I can't stop it. If you ever catch stuff on film, it helps so I can see it, get a visual. You can always email it to me, and I can watch it and give you a quick email response. So you can start tackling it, so that we're making more progress in between the week. And then we'll just take it from there. Okay. And then you know about the Saturday morning walks. Yeah. And that's always an option too.
He's like ready for that.
Yeah, you could have came as soon as last week.
I know.
Yeah, for sure.
And but like, how would I introduce him to those dogs?
You just walk in. We don't do a social. It's exposure. Okay. I did used to have a anti-social dog social. But the issue was people were thinking that we were people. How do you say? Like a social group, and they would just bring in their dogs. And we're like, no, these dogs have issues, and they're just like charging in. We're like, no, not these dogs. And also, we talked about muzzle training. Did you start that process? No. Start that process. Okay. Trust me, because you don't want to be like, oh, we're ready for that stage. And then we're there, and it's like, crap, we've not done anything with the muzzle, and then we either gotta.
I mean, he's worn. Like, it's not like he's never gonna do that. I just don't frequently figure it out.
Right. So if you're wanting to press sociability, what's gonna happen is you gotta remember, muzzle is a stressor. Remote's a stressor. The guest or that dog is a stressor. Right. And that's where things get tricky with the muzzle. Is that I've had dogs tear their faces up because they're trying to remove it. And when you start the muzzle training and the conditioning, it's just to help make them a bit more relaxed, so that we don't get that. Okay. And I've also done it where I just come in and slap the muzzle on. I'm like, all right, gotta deal with the dog. But it tends to be pretty ugly. Okay. So I'm trying to avoid that. All right. So we'll see you in a week. If anything pops up, you let me know. Otherwise, his walk look much better. Returns are good. It's a matter of practicing. Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Heel.